Hey friends, it's me again. I got another challenge for you. This one's called The Wall. And the challenge reads, write a website where viewers can view messages from strangers and submit their own. For this challenge, we're going to be making use of Django, which is a really great web framework, and I hope you'll see why. I'm first going to make a virtual environment for all of our Python to live called The Wall. That way I don't gum up my system Python with whatever we end up installing here. So now that's activated. If I call which Python, you can see that's coming from our virtual environment and not the system. First thing I'm going to install is Django. The latest version will totally work, and that is 196. Okay, I'm also going to install some other Emacs packages for things like auto completion that I keep, and that way I don't look like a fool in front of you. Great. So next we're going to enable that virtual environment, and we should be ready to go. So we have a new command called django admin that should be in the path of our virtual environment, and we're going to use that to start a project. We're going to name that The Wall. That dumps some stuff onto my desktop, see what's inside. I manage.py script and The Wall. We'll use this script for now on. And okay, next we're going to create a Django app, which is just kind of like a section of our website. I'm also going to create a Git repository to help find files faster. Initial commit, we'll call that. There we go. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start an app, and we're going to call that posting. That's a good name as far as I can tell. We just need a place where people can post things and view posts. Posting. I like to name my Django apps ing words. It just seems to work out really well with organization. Great, so let's see if all that worked. When we call Django run server, we should be able to get to it through localhost 8000. Great, Django set itself. It worked. Congratulations on your first. Oh, well, this isn't my first. It might be yours, but cool. So we saw some warnings in the output. You have unapplied migrations. Your app may not work properly until they are applied. So why don't we heed the warning and run python manage.py migrate. And by default, Django has some just default migrations that it needs to run on a local database to get that running. You see things like sessions and users, and we're not going to be using any like authentication in our app. This is just going to be the challenge set anonymous. So okay, so first thing we need to do is probably start off in the models. We need to define what's going to live in our database. So the challenge is pretty simple. We just need the only thing we need to save in the database is a text or like a random post from a user. So why don't we create a new model called post, which is going to inherit from models, and a post is going to have some text field. And then how about we also give it a timestamp in case we need to like order these in the number that they're posted. And we can do a datetime field, and there's something smart we could do with a datetime field. You can see in the documentation it takes flags called auto now and auto now add. What that will do is it will automatically grab the timestamp of either when it's changed or when it's created. So we want the timestamp just to be taken down once when it's created. So I'm going to say auto now add is true. So we're going to add that to the settings. We want our posting app to be on Django's radar, saying, hey Django, take care of this now. And then, so what we need to do now is call manage.py make migrations. This will create a Python migration for our new post. You can see it was created there. And then we're actually going to run that migration on our test database. So now nothing should be different about the app except for we have a new model that we can play around with. So I'm going to run the shell, and if we do from posting.models, we can import our post model. So from here we can either view all the posts that we have saved in the database, which is none, or we can create one, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to say mine is equal to a new post, and then I'm going to give it the text this is the first post. So I think, oh, timestamp hasn't been created yet because we hadn't saved it yet. I'm going to save it now. And then a timestamp, magically, it's born. And I should still be able to read the text. And here's a cool thing. If I do that query again, I'll see the post I created. This is kind of the representation of a Django model. Right now it's not very creative, so why don't we make this a little bit easier for debugging. I'm going to go back to our model and add a Unicode method. And this allows us to define how we want our model to be represented, whether it's in the Django admin interface or at the shell like we were at, and that's just going to return the text. So if did I save that? I didn't save that yet. If I go back here, reload the shell, from posting.models, import post. There we go. So that gives us a better sense of what we have in our database, adding that handy little Unicode function. Okay, so that's all well and good. We can add database, or we can add things to our database, but the user is not going to have access to our database directly. So why don't we take this to the views now? So the Django views are just functions that take in a request and return a response. So they're kind of going to be where most of the action in our website happens. I'm first going to make a view that just grabs all of the posts from the database and returns them as a list. And we can do that with very little code using something that Django calls generic views, which are awesome. So I'm going to say from Django.views.generic import list view, and I'm going to create a new view in a class called post list view, and that's going to inherit from list view. And having inherited from list view, that leaves us with very little code we need to write ourselves. So as you can see, render some list of objects set by self model or self query set. I'm just going to set it equal to the model. So from posting, or we're actually in posting, so we can just do from models import post, set model equal to post, and according to the docs, that's all we really need to do for the view. So it's a very small view, which is good because views tend to grow really, really big. Okay, so next step, we need to map that to our URLs. Django keeps all that. I'm going to jump down here, get rid of all that. And we're also going to get rid of the admin. We're not going to be using that. So Django uses regular expressions to map URLs to views. And we're first going to import our view function. Import post list view. And then why don't we just make that the home page? So when you just go to our app / like the root, that's just going to take you to the list post view. So the Django uses regular expressions, and these I had a hard time learning these because I'm not really like a regex head, but maybe you like them. I'm told they're good, so I know just enough to get them working. So now that we have the URL in there, we should have everything we need to view the post. Unless I haven't thought of something. We'll see. Alright, so server's running. We flip back over to Chrome. And we get an error. But it's not a bad error. Template does not exist. So the view worked and everything. It took the request, it grabbed the response, and it failed looking for a template. So this is actually kind of a helpful error message because it shows us what HTML template Django is expecting. So post list is a convention that was it's kind of derived out of the generic view. It says, okay, you're getting a list of models, and I'm expecting an HTML template named that. So why don't we go ahead and create that template in posting templates posting post list. And then we're going to make directory, and this goofy directory structure, like it feels kind of silly having to type posting templates posting again, and it's something that I always screw up. But the reason why it does that is because at runtime, all the template directories for all your apps get combined into one, so you can kind of think of them like Python namespaces. The directories may look a little silly, but it ends up being a lot cleaner code-wise. So we're going to create an HTML template. I'm going to give it a header, and since it's the home page, I'm going to give it a nice friendly welcome to, let's make it in italics, the wall. And let's see if that works. Oh, did I screw up something in my URLs? I did. I added an end quote. That was silly. I have fat finger syndrome today. Okay, home page is working. So, so now we need to list the posts. So the generic listing view is going to, we can trust that to stuff a list of models into the context, and we can iterate over that list in the template. So I'm going to say for post in post list, and either post list or object list would work. That's what the generic view is going to name it. You can customize that. You can check the Django docs. And then that's all going to be within an unordered list. And then, so for each post and post list, we're going to create a list item. And inside of that is just going to be the post.text. So if we refresh that, there you go. The first post that we created in the database. So we are cruising, about halfway done with the challenge. So now we need a way for people to create their own post, and well, without the database. We're going to go back to views. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Django has another generic view that I think is going to come in handy called the create view. And just like we did before, we're going to create a view based on that, post create view. That's going to inherit from create view, and so the documentation for this one is not as helpful, but you can take my word for it. It's going to receive a model just like it did before, post, and then it's going to take a list of fields that we want to be editable in that form, because it's going to go ahead and construct a form for us. And the only thing that we really have for the user to edit is the text field off of post, and I'm getting all that off the model, like I said. Okay, so now that we have the view, we're going to map that in the URLs. Why don't we make a /add URL? We're also going to import post create view, and we add that to our lovely regular expression here. We're going to replace that with create view. So if I did everything correctly, we should be ready to see a template error at /add. There we go. So the view worked. It grabbed the form, and it errored out when it was looking for the template. So we're going to go ahead and add a post form. Where am I? I don't even know where I am. Templates, posting, post underscore form. Again, a convention being enforced by those generic views. Let's give it a header just like we did before. Add a post to the wall. Okay, so that should at least grab the template. So now we need to stuff the form in there. So because this is a generic view, it's going to have a form variable in the context, but we'll also need an HTML form around that. And then I can give it as P. That's a special Django thing that just says turn each of the fields into its own P tags, just a formatting thing. And we should see, there we go. So we have there's our text field. So Django saw that we were trying to turn a text field into a form, and it gave us that widget. We're going to need a submit button. Type submit. We can get rid of that. And we're not using the name here. And then, oh yeah, we're also going to want method equals post in there. So now we have a submit button, so we should be ready to add our own custom text now. Test from the form. If I hit submit, and uh-oh, we got a forbidden error. CSRF token missing or incorrect. This is a safety thing that Django puts in there to make sure that the posts are coming through. Okay, so the way it works is that when Django generates the form, it's going to generate its own token and then save it somewhere in the form. So the rule is that when you post, you need to have that token in your request. And that proves that the post came from the website as opposed to like from a bot or something nasty like that. So the way that we incorporate that is CSRF token. And actually, why don't we view the HTML? I think that'll be kind of helpful. So here's our page source. We have our form in there, and Django turned it into p tags, but no token or anything like that. But when we refresh, the HTML looks the same, but now we have a middleware token that the request is going to grab, and Django is going to check that. So we should be able to submit that, and okay, now we get a different kind of error. It says no URL to redirect to. Either provide a URL or define a get absolute URL to the model. Okay, so what I think is happening is that by default the create view wants to redirect to the detail record that it creates. But since we don't really have a detail template, and I don't want to add one because this is a really small model, I'm instead just going to define a success URL in the create view, and on success I just want it to return to home directory or home page. So we can try that again. Let's see if it added anything. Okay, so it actually added it. It just failed when redirecting. This is another post from the form. Submit. There you go. Okay, so it's done. Technically, it could be a little better. Let's see what we can improve. Off the bat, I don't like how you have to manually type the URLs. I mean, there's no way they're going to know about that. Why don't we go ahead and stick some links on the page? So from the post list, we want them to be able to link to the add page. Let's give them a link here. Goes to /add, add a post. There you go. On the post, we should probably give them a link to go back in case they were just checking it out and they don't want to actually add one. Back. And that just goes back home. There you go. We can link around comfortably. We've got links, but what I don't like is how all these links are hard-coded. Like, let's say we wanted to change the site, and instead of redirecting to the home page, we wanted to put the post lists on like their own page. That would kind of suck because we'd have to go through all the hrefs and change them to / post list or something. But to remedy that, Django includes a really powerful feature called named URLs. Django provides you with the tools you need to define your URLs once, and then you can change them as many times as you want by just editing this file. So we are going to give an extra keyword argument to URL where we give the URL name. I'm going to call this post list, and Django now will, I'll just show you. So why don't we go back to post form, and instead of redirecting back, we're just going to redirect to URL post list. And if I keep running the server, nothing changes, except now we no longer have a hard-coded URL in the back button. Django is cool enough to figure that out for us. So if we do view source, view page source, Django took that URL name and then looked up its own URLs.py and was able to dig that out for us. So we can do that same thing for the form page. I'm going to call this URL post create, right? And then therefore we should be able to go back here and replace this with that named URL post create, and the link should totally still work. So the great part about that is if we wanted to like change the name of the ad URL, as promised, we only have to do that in one space. New ad URL. And if I refresh the server, that redirects to the new ad URL while keeping all of our links intact. So that's a really great practice to do. Although if you are, I'll get rid of that. If you remember, we still have one URL left, and that's in the success URL. So if we like change the home page, this would break. And the way we get around that is by using the Django reverse URL resolver. So I'm going to go from Django core URL resolver, import reverse lazy. I think I got that right. Did I not get that right? Nope. Resolvers. Okay, well, I think that's right. Did I spell that right? Django core URL resolvers. I think so. Well, we can always try it. Reverse lazy, and instead of going to slash as a hard code, it's going to go back to post list. So the only way we can test that is by just filling out the form. This is a test to see if reverse lazy is working. There you go. So we redirected to the home page, and we don't have any hard codes in there left. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Again, Django is a really powerful framework, and using things like generic views and URL naming, we finished a full little web application with very little code. So I hope that was enjoyable. And oh yeah, forgot to do this. Our challenge is done. Alrighty, keep it real.